Okay, we're live, and thank you all for joining us. And this is intended to be a high value presentation on building relationships. Real quick, I'm just making sure that the live stream is up and running. You able to see it? Okay, it had some warning message. Okay, so why we want to do relationships? So most of us are in business and we're thinking about having meaningful relationships to make more money. But I want you to go way outside of that and look at all these things as being interconnected. So why you should want to make relationships should be more about just actually wanting to have the relationships, and then the byproduct would be having a good business life or making money. And so as you think about that, when you go to work every day or when you run your business, what kind of an impact are you having in people's lives? That's what this should get down to, and we're going to work through a whole bunch of stuff. And real quick, I'll introduce myself. I'm David Boy. I've been a mortgage broker for I'm in my 16th year. I've lived in the Flathead for a little over 25 years, and I'm with Maria Phelps. She owns Black Diamond with me. She's been in mortgage for 7 years, and I'll let her say more about herself later. And then, just to show how much we care about other people, Daryl Hanley was going to be here, and he is sick today. And he's so sick that he couldn't, like, at this morning, he was like, I can't. So, does everybody have their cell phone? Okay, I want to show Daryl how much we care. So, whether you're online or whether you're sitting right here in the room, I want you to go to your cell phone, and I want you to put this phone number in. Don't call him. Don't call him. Don't call him. We're going to text Daryl. So here's the number. I want you to put into your smartphone a text to 406 890 8464. And let me know when you got it. Does everybody need me to say the number again? All right. And then you say, "Hi, Daryl. This is," say whoever you are.
Darel.
Darel. And then just say, "We missed you and we look forward to following up with you when you feel better." And then hit send, and he'll get it from everybody all at once. So let me know when you're done.
And Daryl has actually been a loan officer at Black Diamond now for 2 years. I think this March would be 2 years.
Yeah, and while you guys are typing that in, the reason Daryl was gonna give this presentation is he used to be a pastor for about 15 years. His job was having relationships with other people, so he's very qualified. His last year of business was one of the best years of business we've seen in an employee at Black Diamond, and it's because of his relationship skills. It's not because he's the absolute best loan officer in the United States. It's because he has the best relationships with other people, and he is a great loan officer. But the relationships is what we're talking about today.
Yep.
So, real quick, has anybody heard of Gary Vaynerchuk? If you know who he is, you should maybe go on his Instagram handle. He's basically a social media influencer kind of guy. And anyway, one of the things that's cool about him is he has figured out kind of the success about reaching other people. And I was just watching one of his things, and he has My Life Legacy when you go on his website. But what he basically gets at there is that you need to know what you're good at, and you need to be doing that. And you don't want to be like being fake. You want to be real with people. And one of the things he does really well is even on social media, he engages people. He has like millions of followers, and you could like go and reach out to Gary Vaynerchuk, and he might respond back to you with his millions of people and that has caused him to be like a social media phenomenon. And so the point is, people think he cares, and they also can tell that he's authentic. And so as we go through this whole thing, let's just remember authentic, empathy, and that you care. And then you have something
And
to jump in?
I do, yeah. So Gary Vee, another thing that he emphasizes on is that people will also get mad and they'll say some really bad things. But what his response is, hey, they're paying attention to me. So he likes the response, whether it's good or bad, because then what he'll also see and what he has testimonies of is people's lives are changing because of that. So initially, when you're out doing this and doing your thing and sharing who you are, you might get people who are, more negative. But just know that you have a bigger purpose in that, and it can actually turn out to be a really good thing for you.
Yeah, just all forms of engagement with another person have an opportunity to be a good situation for you. So just look forward to engagement, any kind. Um, so since we're all in business, I want this to be beyond business, but the benefit of tying business into this is I just want you to think about an easy, tangible number of either 3 or 500, get your comfort level, but you should want to have a meaningful relationship with 3 to 500 people who know who you are. And if you actually just do that one simple thing, and they actually know you're about that, that's what you're good at, you'll probably be provided for the rest of your life. So as we walk through all this material, if you want to break it down to the simplest thing, you're wanting to have a meaningful relationship with 3 to 500 people who know what you're all about, what you're good at. And so we'll go through some stuff, but keeping it super simple. If you could call 3 to 500 people and get to know them well enough that they know exactly what your secret sauce is, then when they need that, they're going to probably call you, and that's enough people to provide for you for the rest of your life. So simplest form of relationship building is that, like, be authentic and real and gain that knowledge with that many people, and you're set.
And also, 3 to 500 may sound like a lot of people, but look at your Facebook page. There's a lot of people out there who follow you, and maybe you should take a little bit of time and get to know them.
Yeah, once you get started, like, the idea is there's probably quite a few people that already know you pretty well. Maybe just refining with them and then gaining more, is a good way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
But let's dig into a little bit. You have some notes in front of you, or open up your folder if you haven't, and we're gonna kind of run through some stuff just to help, and we'll do a little interaction just to see if you can get the right answers. We have the right answers, and they're not intended to be hard. But creating meaningful relationships, you'll see there's some blank spots on the sheet. If you're watching online, you can grab this content. But the first one, and Maria and I will just go back and forth. The first one on there is a blank about people when there is nothing in it for you to gain. Does anybody want to guess what the answer is?
Care.
Yes.
Right on.
Yeah, care about people when there's nothing in it for you to gain. And so people respond well if you care.
All right, so blank your phone when people call you.
Answer.
That's right. And blank after connections.
And that one sounds easy, but there's a mortgage broker. We're in the mortgage business, so we'll tie that to a lot of things. But there's a mortgage broker that we follow that has been doing fantastic. He's one of the top in the nation. His slogan is "Answer your damn phone," and because he believes that he makes more money than a lot of other mortgage brokers by doing that one simple thing. So,
and it's follow up after connections.
So number 3, blank notes about people.
Take.
Yes.
That works.
So don't rely on your memory, and use blank to follow up with people. Reminders.
Yep.
Yeah, because and then leave blank in your schedule for last minute meetings and connections. Yeah, make sure you make time for it. So be intentional about what you're going to do about trying to get in real relationship with other people.
And I want to add a little bit to that is you really do, this is a totally different class, but you really have to time block and manage your time in order to do all of these things. So if you need help, like we do have some tools, we have a CRM that we'll talk about later. I would highly recommend those things to help you keep track of all these connections. All right, number 4, practice blank listening to your relationships.
Active.
Yes, good. And then try to blank. Understand.
I was going to say be awesome.
There. Oh.
Okay, put blank aside and prioritize struggles your friends and clients may be going through.
Yeah, that would work.
That could work. We had put business aside, but that kind of is
Same thing,
put
yeah.
yourself aside.
Don't always think you're the most blank and blank person in the room.
Important.
Did you see these before? And
Awesome.
knowledgeable would be the next one. And what I've noticed, and that maybe you guys can relate, when I'm having a conversation with someone, I actually really try to hear them talk. And then I hear later from other people that they had the best conversation with me. And I'm thinking, I got like 5 words out. But that person loved that conversation with me.
You're gonna get the second half, or
Oh, I forgot. There is a second half. Sorry. Lead with blank and servanthood.
Integrity.
those are all good.
Yeah. Humility. The people in front of you don't always need you to tell them how good you are, and exactly ties in to listen to them.
All right, if you're too busy to blank, then you're too busy. One person said care, good. The one we had is too busy to listen, but I think they're similar. Make sure you make time to listen, I think is the point. So.
Be blank with your time, talent, and resources. People are truly touched by this.
Intentional was
That would
said,
work.
that's a good answer.
Mm-hmm.
Giving.
That's
That's a
pretty
good-
much the answer. Giving was said.
Generous.
Generous, yeah. Number 9, be blank. People are drawn to blank, which I'll give you a hint is the same thing. So one person said authentic. I think that works for
It
sure.
does. It absolutely works.
Correct answer, positive. People are drawn to positivity.
Find the things that you share in blank with others. Arts, sports, faith, or
Common.
correct. Yeah.
And this one, I'll give you a quick example how easy that one is and why it works well. But so you're finding something in common with other people. So in my world, I went to the University of Colorado Boulder, and there's really nothing special about the University of Colorado Boulder. It's a great university, whatever. But if somebody else says they went to the University of Colorado Boulder, boom, we have something in common. And every time we run into each other, hey, go Buffs, you know. It's like the easiest thing to connect on. So you can just extrapolate that to as many things as you want. But when somebody has something in common with you, the bond is growing. And so those relationships are going to be better if you have something other than just your business or you want to make a transaction with somebody. So look for those things that you guys have in common, that every time you see each other, you can go to that. That's why you want to know what you have in common with other people.
Creates a tribe.
Yeah, tribe.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Somebody mentioned tribe in the audience, and that's exactly what you're trying to do is connect with the members of your tribe that are out there as you're growing your 300 to 500 person tribe.
Mm-hmm. So the next page we talk about benefits. So now I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm Maria Phelps, one of the owners at Black Diamond, and I've been working with Dave for just 7 years now. And before that, I was actually in marketing. I started my own marketing company, and that's how I met Dave, and he said, if you ever want to get into mortgages, you'd be good at it. Well, now here I am. Now, before that, I had kids and college and all sorts of stuff. But how I've always connected with people is through my experiences and the things I like to do. And I have a good example. Yesterday, even, I got a phone call from a client. I literally get this loan application. I get all the documents. Every single thing that I have a full loan file. I've never heard of this guy before. I get on the phone with him and I'm like, how did you hear about us? And he said, well, I went to Google and I was looking for a whitefish mortgage broker and you guys popped up. We have great reviews. I was like, okay, that's great. But really the reviews were great, but he loved us as people. Like he was like, you guys do exactly what my wife and I love to do. and like it's great. And so I was like, well, okay, yeah, I grew up here. I was born and raised in Montana, small town. I went to school in Whitefish, and I went to college in Bozeman for a short period of time before I dropped out. That's a whole nother story. But a lot of what we share is actually who we are. Like, I sell mortgages by sharing that I'm training for a half Ironman. That's how I sell mortgages. People are really drawn to that. Telling my story, my personal story. So the benefits, you talk about this, it's free. It's free to exercise this. You can talk about yourself, and not in a way that you're trying to like shine a light. I get messages. I was actually sitting with Kelly having coffee with her like a month ago, and I literally got a message. We were talking about this, and I got a message from someone who said, I love how you share your story. I've got health stories, I've got all sorts of stuff, and I share it with people, and I get a huge response. They're thankful for that. So it's a viral effect. So so it's a little bit about me, but it's also a long-term thing. I've been doing that. It's who I am. I share who I am, and that's how I get business, and I create relationships that way. And then of course you get repeat business. So again, I don't sell mortgages, but I do sell mortgages. I share my life, and people are drawn to that. And we have a full loan package, by the way, from a gentleman that likes what we do.
Well, and just to compound on the benefits of approaching relationships this way is ultimately in life you want to be doing what God made you to do in this world.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have these natural gifts, and if you're just talking about what's going on and getting real with people, they start to figure out who you are. And so over time you're going to determine you might be in the wrong job, or you might be in the wrong career, and the only way you're going to flesh that out is by being real with people all the time. And eventually you're going to end up in the right career or the right job, and you're going to be more successful once that happens. And so if you have your tribe of 300 to 500 who know you, they're going to help you figure that out. And so, like, to compound on what you were saying, like sometimes I'll even talk about I have a 17-year-old daughter, and every once in a while that's not going that awesome, and I'll just tell people, like, I'll have a client or a person, I'm just, next thing I know, we're bonding on that. We're bonding on the rough night dealing with the team homework, and that ends up being good for business, and it also, we're helping each other, and so that helps you refine this type of stuff. So the benefits are in your own personal life too.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, this was a quote for Daryl that he was going to say, so I'm just going to pretend like I'm Daryl for a second. He's way cooler than me, but he says, I, Daryl, have spent many years as a pastor in church ministry. In all these years, it became easy to build relationships. We have natural places where relationships happen for us. Who can you build relationships with? So, and I could, in my world, if I were to make the same quote, it would probably be mountain climbing, ski racing. These are some areas that I basically immersed myself in throughout life. So I have natural relationships in those areas. But there's a handout, and
Power team.
it's called the Power Team. And if you guys want to just take a sec, see if you can jot a few of these down. You can finish it later. But I want you to just think for a second about like the 10 most likely referral sources, like people that you could make relationships with that might actually help you with your business or whatever. And then you can even do like the 3 best and then the 3 worst, So it's good just to think about it. If you're going to be intentionally building relationships, kind of narrow down a little bit who you should be building relationships with. So I'll use a mortgage as an example just to kind of give you like, in our business, it's nice for us to have good relationships with realtors. We're dealing with the same clients. Insurance agents, actually bankers work well with mortgage brokers. We have a couple people here from American Bank, and Black Diamond Mortgage has banked there for years. We don't have the exact same products. There's some products that American Bank has that we don't have, and there's some products that Black Diamond Mortgage has that American Bank doesn't have. So we have a good relationship, and sometimes it helps us to know each other's customers. So knowing your top 10 is helpful, because as you're out there in the world and you're seeing these people, who are the ones that are the most attractive to be building relationships with? It does help. I'm trying to think of who some of the worst ones are
I
in there.
well, I have a few worse.
Okay, Maria, why don't you do
actually.
that, because I didn't think of those.
Sometimes what you may think is that your friends and family could be the greatest, but actually, if any of my family is watching, I love you. It can be hard with family. It can be really hard, and I was the youngest of four, and I have helped some of my family members with mortgages, but I get it. If they don't want to use me, or I have family members who don't want me to know all of their bank information, I get it. So if you can just get past that, it'll help you. If you go into, especially a new industry, and you're trying to figure out how am I going to get new business, put your family aside, and even friends. Like friends, there's a lot of people doing similar things, especially in the Flathead Valley. They have a lot to pick from. So that's where you need to kind of steer the other way and like, okay, this is my friend, but they know 10 other people that do the same thing. I can't get mad at them. What I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to try to build more relationship with them, so maybe they do pick me. Go have lunch with them. Stuff like that. But yeah, family and sometimes friends can be some of the worst.
And then one way to help identify this as it comes to business is just go with your top 3 customers that you've ever done business with and be like, why were they the best? What did I like about it? And then maybe that is your top 3 group and that's why you like them so much. And then likewise, who did you hate doing business with the most? Identify that, because when you're out there in the world dealing with people, maybe you don't want to do business with 100% of the population, and so there's a group of people that you're just like, when those people come around, some people refer to people as like toxic people. If they're toxic to you, they might not be, you might just want to be like, okay, I'm not going to go try to build relationships with those kind of people, and so know who they are, and so you can identify them, and you just keep getting better at figuring out who you do want to be building relationships with. In the some of the relationships are natural places, so like you're already going to certain things, you're going to church, you're going to the soccer games if your kid's in soccer, you're going, these are areas that are pretty natural and easy to build relationships in. And then some are a little bit more intentional, so sometimes some of the material that's in this class that we're teaching I got from a group that I was in called BNI, Business Networking International. It's an intentional networking group where you meet weekly and you basically try to expand your network by meeting with other business professionals. So that's not so much something that I would just be happening in my life, but I'm intentionally going to these meetings. Other examples of that are like chambers of commerce. Mm-hmm. You might join the chamber just so that you can make better relationships with a lot of other people. So those are ones where you're going to put a little more effort into building relationships, and it's good to list them all out just so that you kind of know where should you be spending your time in building as many relationships as possible.
And some of the ones, just to throw a few more examples that I've been getting more involved with, would be like fitness groups. I do a lot of stuff with my body, and I can relate to a lot of people, so I might go for a run with a running group, or with just a couple of ladies, or for a hike or something. So it might seem uncomfortable at first, but I guarantee the other people that are in those groups feel the same way as you, so you might as well go.
Okay, so we're out there and we're trying to meet other people, and so maybe we're at a Chamber of Commerce gone fishing party up in Whitefish, and here we are with some other person. We're starting to talk. What are we doing? Like what? So let's just get a little granular here for a second. What do I want to remember about somebody else if I meet them? And so just to give you kind of the easy stuff, you'd like to know about their family, because everybody cares the most about their family. So the next time you see them, if you remind them that you remembered their family, that's going to have a high impact on the way that they know that you remembered them. So kids' names, number of kids, what kind of sports they're into, where they went on vacation last, anything that comes up, just as soon as you get away, if you can remember to write it down, it'll help you remember. So when you see them the next time, you can say, hey, remember when we talked about the trip to Disneyland? And we're going to Disneyland. Great. Now you're bonding. Let's go to University of Colorado Buffs. Here you are again. But remember those things, places they've lived, what they're the most interested in, where they work, where they used to work. So as you build this profile on everybody that you're getting to know, that's going to give you the ability to to basically sound really empathetic and compassionate about them, because you are. You're taking the extra time to know. I know personally, there's like business where you just go Costco, pick something up, and you're just kind of mindlessly doing business, and there's no relationships happening unless you happen to know the people on the other side of the checkout stand. Whereas compare that with, you know, when you're doing business and you're running into people and you're also having the conversations about their life. And that's you remember that. And so that makes the relationships grow, and it gives you guys something to follow up on, something to remember each other on. Because at the end of the day, if you have these meaningful relationships, this is the worst thing that I hate when it happens in my mortgage business is I've known somebody for 10 years, we've talked about a lot of things, and somehow they went and got a mortgage with somebody other than me, and they actually say to me, oh, you actually provide the loan for the house? And I'm like, what do you think I do? You know, but they didn't know what I did.
Yeah.
You know, so I didn't do a very good job of engaging them. Like they knew me, and they you know, so getting to know the people, or that moment of decision came and they just forgot about me, and they were online, and you know, some online thing got their attention and they just forgot about me, and so that's my fault. I should have been more actively engaged. So.
And there is a fine line too, because you do want to share all that you do as a business and then personally to try to gain those relationships, but I do steer towards sharing more about my personal life, and then I throw a little bit of mortgage in there because I don't want people to forget that I also do mortgages.
Is there like a percentage of each, like depending on the situation, if you're like 80%?
I would steer towards 80-20 is what I would do. We'd probably have to look at like national statistics, but I do like 80-20. That's probably a pretty good number.
Is that 80 personal?
80,
20?
I'm sorry, yes, 80 personal, 20% business, because you do want to tell people what you do. So.
And then I have, this is a little later in our little note, but like this hat, this jacket. So I could actually only talk personal, but you might see my hat, you know, like.
Yeah.
So we've got an American Bank employee here, and he's got his jacket on. So good strategy, because we could talk about everything other than American Bank, but it might still be in my head at some point.
Yeah. Or we have this shirt that says I love mortgages, and I was at the locker room at the Wave, and a gal literally was like, I don't love mortgages. Oh, yeah. And so it actually allowed us to get into a conversation, and I was like, well, mortgages can actually be a really good thing. They can help you pay off your debt. I actually paid off my student loans with my mortgage. It was the greatest feeling ever. And so it engaged a conversation. So, and plus it was a pretty blue shirt. Like, it's actually a cool shirt. I should have wore it today. Darn it.
Did you have it made, or where'd you get that?
You know, we actually are part of a national broker group, and that's like some of these shirts and stuff. There was a gentleman in there who is now in Massachusetts. They just moved, but another broker. We're very friendly with other brokers in the nation. So.
I guess it wasn't part of the presentation, but since Heidi mentioned it, you know, be in your trade associations.
Yes.
And make friends with everybody who isn't in your market.
Yeah.
In your trade association, because in the last year when everybody was moving to Montana, all of our friends in the trade association from every state other than Montana was looking for a mortgage broker in Montana that they could trust.
Yeah.
Which this last year, there was a lot of people moving to Montana.
Yeah.
And every one of these people in every one of these states, to them, Montana is just like a one-off. They're like, oh, got California business, and they're like, who's in Montana? And they're like, oh, there's those guys from Montana, you know? And so it ended up being great for us that we made meaningful relationships in our trade association.
Right.
So extra tidbit there.
And also for women, I don't like to completely separate. Dave will highlight this next, but it is important. I'm a part of the big network, but then I'm also a part of the women's mortgage network. And that's important for me because there are some things that I want to ask that I don't necessarily want to have a gentleman answer. I know they can help me, but it might be more sensitive, and I need a more woman's touch. So it's nice to be a part. What's that? Yes.
Well, this is the perfect lead into the next topic,
Yes.
which is So the guy that headed up the organization, BNI, wrote a book that I've not read, but I already know what it says. And so the book is called Business Networking and Sex. It's Not What You Think. And so right after that, you read one sentence and you pretty much get the whole point. But basically, men and women, as a general, I know we're not going to hit this perfect. They're a little different. And so engaging with the opposite sex as far as business and relationships as it pertains to it's different. And so I'll give you a quick example because I just had this example, but I'm a guy, so I was hiring a plumber the other day, and I was just basically looking for a plumber that could do the plumbing on my house. And when I found one, I hired him, and we entered into a transaction together, and it was great. That's how guys do things. And so now that they did a good job for me, I'm like, oh, who are these guys? I'd like to get to know them a little bit better because I'm a guy. You know? Now, women, they kind of do it differently. So the general principle here is doing business with guys, do a great job on the first transaction, then build a relationship. That's how they like to do business. Women, build a relationship, then you get a transaction. You know, and so it's basically good to know when you're just going into business. And you can look at it really easy, like in the Flathead where we are, there's actually a group called the Women Who Wine. And it basically, from what I've gathered, just watching as a guy, I'm a guy, I don't know anything about women, but they seem to want to get together and talk and have wine and get to know it. And then maybe they'll do business together, but it's not even, you know, it's more like what this class is about. It's build a relationship first, then do business. But to be honest, for all the women out there, if you want to do business with guys, you know, go knock out a great transaction, and then we'll become friends later, because that's how we are, you know. And I'll be the first to say I'm very much like that. So I would like to see if you can do the business, and then who are you, by the way, you know. So it's okay. That's how we're different, and so understand that if you're at a chamber function and you're talking to a member of the opposite sex, and you know, hit their target point so you can build a strong relationship and appreciate it, because there's 50% of the population that you need to know they like to do it the opposite way that you do. So you want to handle that?
Yeah, how to help people remember you. So we've kind of touched on a lot of these points, but we'll just go through here. This is actually Daryl's list. Daryl created this list, and again, Daryl's business, how he built his business as a mortgage broker was through relationships. So, and he did a really damn good job. So his points are really good. Be kind and engaging. That's obvious, right? I also want you to think about, if you're at a restaurant, this be kind and engaging. Do you get pissed off at the waitress because your food isn't right? Or do you have some compassion? So every little moment like that can actually be a transaction or not. So just think about that, you know, in every little bit of your life. Give them your contact info or business card. No brainer. How are they going to get a hold of you if you interact with them? They got to know how to do that.
Can I give an example?
Yes.
Bought a house in a neighborhood, and a lady came across the street to meet me because I'm one of her neighbors now, and we were just talking, and I said, if you ever need anything, just call my cell phone. But, you know, I gave her my business card, which has got my cell phone number on it. So then we talked about the fact that I was a mortgage broker, but not because I was selling a mortgage. We're neighbors, and we just needed each other's cell phones. But why not have your business card with all the information on it? So.
And if I don't have my business cards on me, which I almost always do, but I'll send my contact card from my phone.
Yep.
And just text them my whole contact, and so it does have my link to my Facebook and my Instagram.
Perfect.
You know, birthday, all these kind of important personal and business things as well. So your electronic business card is important too.
And I think that is key too, because I'm a firm believer on your website, if you have one, you should have all of your contact information, your social media links, because when I first start talking with somebody, I want to know who they are, and I go to their Facebook page or their Instagram, like, oh, who are these people? And so have that information available, whether it's through a contact card or on your website. Make sure they can find you. Infect people with excitement about you and what you are about. Again, this goes back to how I sell mortgages and how Dave does. He goes skiing in the backcountry and many other things. but
There's
that's
always at
however.
least one other person out there, and I sell them a mortgage.
And again, I get messages weekly about people like, hey, thanks for sharing, or hey, can you help me with this or that, or just so share the excitement, because other people, the excitement is actually, it's like osmosis, like it's infectious. Ask lots of questions. I also said another example where if you let somebody else talk, ask questions, get them to start talking to you. It's going to create a great relationship. Be real. Authenticity is seen as a strength. I absolutely love this, especially in our social media world. I'm sure you guys have seen like Instagram versus reality. Some people kind of have fun with that. There was this one I saw last night where a couple was trying to do this funny yoga move, and so they did it perfectly, but then they showed a video of like the 50 times it took them to actually get it right, because that's what it takes. Like, so look at your Instagram and just see, like, are you being authentic? And be vulnerable at the right times. And Daryl puts it as, this is an art. Many people don't understand when the right time is to be vulnerable.
And I'll just say, like, talking about even like mortgages with people or whatever, a lot of times I will tell people about really dumb stuff I did to give them that, like, they want me to be like the best guy to get the finance from, but if we're having I might be like, I did this wrong and I did that wrong and I did this wrong, and then so I recommend that you do this right. And by being vulnerable and telling them all the dumb things I've done, it kind of takes the pressure off of them to be ready to do the right thing. And maybe the right thing's hard, so they need to hear that it's hard so that they can make the right decision, and then that builds trust. So being able to tell people about all the dumb things you've done is an excellent relationship builder.
Mm-hmm. Share genuine compliments and encouragement. I actually want to challenge every one of you when you leave today to actually tell someone, hey, you look great, or hey, you did a good job on this project or something. I challenge you, because we don't say it enough. We might think it in our head, but we're not telling somebody like, hey, you have a really cute outfit. I actually do love those pants, by the way. But it can actually change a person's day. They literally could have had the worst night with their kids or their spouse, and just you doing that little compliment. So I challenge you all, and I want to hear about it. All right, stand up for a cause you believe in. What ways are you serving and giving back? It's got to be bigger than money.
And I want to jump in on this. A lot of people are scared of this part because everybody, if you take like politics and you're like, oh, I'm for this side, and that means all the other side. If you do it in the right way, you can be honest about who you are. And at the end of the day, one of the things I think stinks about corporate America right now is most big corporations are kind of fake. Like you can't like they're just so afraid to offend anybody that they don't have a personality anymore. But you need to have a personality because people want to bond with you, and you can bond with people you disagree with. If you do it in a kind way, like Maria was talking about. So, like, pick something that you are passionate about and let people know what you think. And maybe you don't pick politics. That'd probably be the dumbest one to pick. But it might be like, this morning I was just scrolling through Facebook, and there's this girl that is apparently 19 years old, and she has disabilities and all this stuff down in Billings, and they're not letting her do her senior year of high school. And you can pick either side of this, but I decided to post this poll that everybody's taking, say, let her do her senior year of high school, because I don't understand why not. And I'm okay letting people know that I think that, because a lot of people probably be like, oh, it's cool, he's compassionate, he cares about this 19-year-old who can't finish her senior year of high school. I don't know, I just was okay with saying what I think about that, and if somebody disagreed with me, it'd be great, because we talked about at the beginning of the session here, like somebody that comes at you with the opposite point of view, that's an opportunity for you to have a conversation with them and just be nice and be like, oh, okay, now I see it your way, good to know, and so be visible, because it actually creates something to remember. And at the end of the day, you do want people to know who you are, and over the course of your life, you want to become the master of who you are. So it's going to require that you be out there with who you are a little bit.
Yeah, and then currently you might have seen it a couple of times, we're actually doing 21 push-ups for 21 days for teen suicide awareness. We actually, I didn't tell you this, I'm going to make them help us do this.
Nice.
after. You don't have to, but.
You might have to do
anyways.
push-ups.
I did say I like that kind of stuff. But the reason I'm sharing it is because my family was completely impacted this last fall with suicide. And so I know that a lot of other people who are doing this, the 21 push-ups for 21 days, maybe they weren't directly impacted, but that's like something I'm passionate about because I don't want you to be impacted, because it was definitely a traumatic thing for our family. So, and again, I'll probably make you do 21 push-ups
All
if
right,
you're down.
at the end of this presentation, we're doing it.
But
All
I
right.
did, I saw your Facebook post about that, and I saw a few people saying, well, how does this make any sense? Or how
Right.
is this?
Yeah.
And so, that just goes to the point that some people are not gonna quite understand your
Right.
point of view or what you're doing.
And that's okay, I'm still gonna do it.
But you're still authentic and you put it out there.
Exactly. No, that's a really good point. All right, represent yourself well. Dress, self-care. Your brand is yourself. So definitely, don't walk around town in pajamas unless you sell pajamas, maybe. And then smile and be confident, but not arrogant. There's a big difference. Confidence is key. All right. We're doing good. All right. Best practices in relationship building. We are going to kind of run through this quick because you have it written down, so we'll just run through it quick, and then we want to have time for some Q&A. Complete every transaction in your business and don't give up. Always do what is right before and after the sale.
So I want to comment on that one. So in mortgage, sometimes the transaction is very hard. Sometimes the borrower doesn't have good credit. Sometimes there's something wrong with the house. Sometimes we have a lot of miserable people in the transaction, including our own client, trying to get them the house. And when I was new at the job, it used to really make me sad to put all that work in and then to have people like frustrated. But what I've learned doing this business for 16 years is once you close, everything changes. So the moment that they get the house, they can't remember how hard it was to get the house.
Yeah.
So what I learned from that is no matter how hard it is, and I'm talking, if I'm a mortgage broker and both realtors are calling me telling me I'm doing a bad job, the borrower is telling me that they'd like to fire me and they're not happy anymore. If I can close, this is all going to change, and the thing that they are going to remember is that I got it done and that it was hard. So in a weird way, the worst transactions can sometimes be your best, because after you succeed at it, now they're like, and so when things are tough, complete the transaction, whatever, no matter how dirty it is, and even if it's your fault and you're doing a horrible job, fix it and then explain what happened, and explain why you learned something, even if you have to be vulnerable like we were just talking about. But always close, if it can be done, always close the deal.
Yep. Don't try to immediately close a deal with someone you just met. Again, build a relationship. We're talking about that. Listen and ask questions. Talked about that. Play the long game, not the short game. I want you to highlight that.
Sure. So play the long game is basically you don't always want to close the transaction fast or get a deal fast. So a lot of times people may not need your product right now. And what they need is for you to tell them, because you know all about what you do, and you might be able to close a transaction for them right now that they don't need. That's a one transaction relationship. In mortgage, we like to look at every mortgage customer as being potentially 5 or 6 mortgages. And the reason is because if you look statistically, over somebody's life, they're generally going to have that many mortgages. Nobody wants to believe that. Everybody, when they buy their first house and they take their first mortgage, like, as soon as this 30 years is over, I'm done, I'm retiring, Well, then life happens, and life keeps happening. And so the reality is from the age 23 to 50, you're gonna keep doing purchases or refinances until you get to the end of all that. And so I don't have to make money on transaction number 1, or I don't even have to do transaction number 1. I just want to do some of the 5, 6 transactions. And so I want to do the right ones and the ones that benefit the client. So looking over the horizon at every single relationship and understanding that I want to be in this relationship with this person for the next 25 years. So what do we need to do to build that relationship? And the cool thing is if you do that consistently, we just had in mortgage like one of the best years that have ever happened in mortgage because all the perfect variables came together. You didn't have time at that time to go find your customers. They were just calling in. So all your life's work was coming to the table at that moment. So everybody that you treated right 8 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, they're like looking for the one that they want to call at this critical moment. And so that required that over the 16 years you were doing the right thing, which you might not know when it was going to pay you back for years, you know. And so just having that mindset that this is not all the success that you need in all your relationships doesn't have to be today. It just has to be building the authentic, good, memorable relationship.
Don't be afraid to help people. If you're not helping people, maybe get a new occupation. Don't be afraid of people. They need your help.
Yeah, I think this is a good one. I'll just add to is as you go through and everybody's getting to know you and you're getting to know yourself, the only way you're going to be fulfilled in your career is if you're actually providing value to other people. So as you get to know who you are and as everybody else gets to know who you are, you should at some point be providing that value. And so therefore, if somebody, you're scared to go get the business from them, why? Because you're the best at it. So why would you be scared to go ask them for the business? Like they need you. So that's your target, is the point where even if they don't know, you know, and you believe in your heart that you actually are the best way for them to get this, that's going to help you navigate whatever it takes to get from first meeting to a transaction, is that you actually believe in your heart that you actually have the thing that they need. And so it's a lifelong process, but it's what you're working on.
Then when you do have that real relationship, ask for a referral and don't beat yourself up forever over a relationship that is going nowhere. And I will say that the story that I talked about, a gentleman that looked at our reviews online and was like, yeah, you have the best reviews. I strategically don't send a review out to every single person that I do business with, because some people just don't want to do that, or they had a negative experience about something, whether it was me or another third-party person, or just it took too long or something. You know, I don't like to put myself out there. So as a business owner, be strategic about your reviews. And it's okay if you don't get one from somebody, it's fine. Just be strategic, because there's a lot of people out there that love what you do. Not everybody is going to like it, and that's okay.
But if you hit a home run, then you need to make sure that you ask for a referral.
Yes.
Because they're never going to remember it like they remember it right at that moment.
Yeah, and that goes into never burn a bridge, kill a relationship. Stay friends and properly categorize that relationship. Like maybe on the power team, they're not going to be your best referral source, but you can still have connections with them.
And living in the Flathead Valley, I can absolutely assure you that with that bridge building, you are going to need to cross that bridge again at some point. So if you burn a bridge down, at some point you're going to have to come back to that person and go, hey, it's the guy that burned the bridge down and told you I never want to see you again. Here I am.
And I'll be honest with you guys, and I'm sure Dave, like, we see a lot of transactions and not every one of them is the same. Like, we see new stuff all the time and we're not perfect, but we own up to it, and that's what I want you guys to do. Just own up. If you make a mistake, own up to it, because you will gain a relationship back. And it may be a couple years later, but you'll get that relationship back if you're honest, or if it's not meant to be. I get it. Social media do's and don'ts. I'm not going to go over everything, because you can go over my little cheat sheet that I have, but I do want to highlight there's a few key things in there if you need help with, like Facebook posting or hashtags, things that I've learned over the years that have definitely worked for me. There's a lot of social media platforms. You have to find out what works for you. If you're not a Twitter person, it's fine. Like, maybe your niche and your business is not there, but just find where your target audience is and really focus on that. And then I do want to highlight too, your social media is literally like your resume. So don't share photos that you don't want your clients to see, because they're going to look at that and they're going to be like, oh, I was trying to get a hold of them on Saturday to get an offer written, and they're out partying on a boat and they're not even paying attention, which totally fine if you do, but just be careful with how you post it, okay? Because it can affect some of your current transactions.
I would say also, and on that list, I think it's probably on there, but do look at the social media stuff as like if you're flinging a lot on there and nobody's paying any attention to you, then self-examine yourself. Like you might be offending everybody and putting bad stuff out there. And so I see people like this all the time, and I'm like afraid to like their post because I don't want to get attached to them because they're just toxic and they're just flinging. And sometimes I'll be like, that's it. They're not going to be on somebody that I'm involved in a social media relationship with, because I don't want to accidentally come into so like use that platform. It's a great platform. On our mortgage broker group, there's some people that say that their CRM is Facebook, because they're like, everybody's there and I just like them, and you can literally like use this platform easily to engage with a lot of people, but then use it for that. Like if you're just on there to tell everybody what you think about politics, you might be wasting the opportunity.
For sure.
And similarly, when we go to hire people, I will comb through their social, and I'm like, whoa, all they do is party.
Yep.
I've actually not hired people because of what I saw on their social media. and they never told them either. I just looked on there and I was like, whoa, we don't need this around the office.
Timeliness, be on time. If you're going to meet with somebody, or just as building a business relationship, or you're at a closing or whatnot, be timely. It definitely affects your business. Cards, leave behinds, name tags. Some people think name tags are cheesy. We actually had name tags for a long time, and it helps because you meet a lot of people, and if you're at a networking group, I forget names. I have this problem, and I'm going to be honest. I have somebody walk into my office. I work with these people every day, and I'm like, this is Dave. This is Zach. Like I just, my brain like can't. It's just this like thing that I have, and so a name tag is great. Accountability partner, have a mentor and be a mentor. So I would think one of my mentors has been Dave. He's been great in the mortgage industry, but then also think of big name people. Like who else? I think of like Tony Robbins. Like he's a great person to follow. Gary Vee. Like get some mentors that affect you in a really positive way, because you are what you listen to and what you watch. So if you're just looking through social media, you're probably not getting the best. So listen to podcasts, read books from people who have been there, done that. Welcome new people. Be a host, not a guest. Be very welcoming. That'll really help you.
Can I jump on that one? So this is a common thing that people do that I want to point out, because you can really increase your impact on what we're talking about today if you do what I'm about to tell you and you don't do what I tell you not to do. So when you go to a gathering, most people go find the two people that they already know and they start chatting it up with them. And they milk the whole thing, and then they leave. And they literally just wasted an hour of their life. So their boss said, go to the Chamber of Commerce thing. They go there and they go talk to the one person that was there that they already know. They brought zero value back to the office. So be the one that goes and finds the person that's in the corner that nobody's talking to them, and go find out who they are, and then do this relationship building with them. For one, they're going to appreciate it. And for two, your goal is to expand your network. I was actually at a Whitefish Chamber event the other day, and everybody was doing what I was talking about. Everybody's in their little circle talking to their usual people. And there's this guy standing there in like a white t-shirt, and he looks completely out of place. And my wife would kill me if I was wearing my under white t-shirt. But he's just standing there, and he's a buff guy, and I'm gonna find out who this guy is. And I walk up to him, and well, it turns out he's building houses everywhere, and he's just off work, and he's got a ton of value relationship, and I was just like curious. I didn't know who he was. Like, he could have literally been a guy that walked out the street. He's actually a hardworking construction guy that's succeeding like crazy, and he just happened to be at the chamber event and forgot to, put his uniform on or whatever he should have done. But it ended up being a meaningful conversation for me, and so I was like, cool. I went back to the office, and he knew some of the people at the office, and I was like, glad that I went out of my normal way of doing business and met the person that everybody else was not talking to. So.
Mhm. And then train, practice, prepare, and be well polished. Go to classes like this and also teach classes like this. But I do want to emphasize that you don't always just want to keep learning. You do need to practice that learning. So don't just sit there and read and learn without actually doing it. Tracking. Who has a CRM? Customer Relationship Management System. Awesome.
Got a couple.
Sweet. What platforms do you guys use?
Salesforce.
Okay. Okay, cool. So we use Zoho. It's a great system. So what you have to do is like look at what your business needs, because there's tons out there. I listed a couple. I've seen some people use like Trello or Asana, Nimble, Capsule, Monday. But any of those, just find one that works for you. And Salesforce is pretty robust. Zoho is pretty robust. I'm not as familiar with Pipedrive, but check them out and keep track of your clients.
There's probably two different generic kinds out there. There's kinds that you can customize, and there's kinds that are more built to do it for you.
Mhm.
I think you just need to figure out who you are.
Right.
If you're not the type that's going to program it, then take like a Salesforce, for example, and use it the way that it was built, and it's designed to make you successful, and it's a very good program. And then the one that Maria likes, Zoho, it doesn't have anything when you get it. You have to program it.
Yeah, you have to completely
So
customize.
ours is that way because we have all these custom needs, and we just want it to be our way.
Yep.
But Maria spends hours programming it, and then we use it, and it works great for
It's
us.
pretty cool.
But if we weren't going to do the programming, we would probably use a one where we pay amount for it, and it just, all you got to do is put the data in there, and then it produces results.
Mhm.
And you got to know which one you're going to use, because it's a complete waste of time if you're not going to use it.
And then we'll end on schedule real time for this. So relationship building, like how are you managing your time every week? Are you spending, actually, who has an iPhone? Because your iPhone, I don't know if Android does it, but your iPhone actually tells you how much screen time you've done. And I get a report every week if my screen time was up or down.
I'm
Use
afraid
that.
to look.
Yeah. But like really you should manage your time, like block out time. And I've been getting into a better habit of looking at the next day and feeling out, okay, what should my task be, my priority? I need to block out these times. Put it in your calendar. Like our calendar is full of stuff. Zach is really good at this. He blocks out even client calls to make sure he doesn't miss anything. So really get your time management down to a fine tee, because I think it'll really help you guys.
Does anybody have a question about anything?
We covered a lot.
All the material that we just talked about is available, and we're going to put this up on our website, so you can grab the material, you can watch this, and if you do have a question you forgot to ask, I want to share this information. This whole relationship building thing is real. If you're here or you're watching this and you want to spend more time going over stuff, then I want to meet with you and talk to you about it.
Yeah, you can actually call or text us at 406-862-4999, and we are open book. We will share whatever you guys need, whether it's a loan related thing or social media thing. Like, we want to share with you guys. We had a question.
So awesome, thank you. Is this the first iteration of this, and kind of what's your plans and thoughts? Because I see there's one for Joe Coco.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, that's a
good
really
point.
good question. So we actually do a class monthly. Last month we did a couple classes actually. We've done construction, we did a first time home buyers class. April 20th we're working with Joe Coco, who is amazing. He's a great leader in our community. He was in the military, so I grew up as a military brat, I guess. I don't think I was a brat, but my dad was in the Army, and I learned a lot from my dad, so I'm excited to learn from Joe Coco. That's April 20th, and we're going to meet at his office at 8. May we don't have scheduled out yet, but we will have something for May as well.
So we are doing classes. This class is this class, but we're trying to add value in different areas monthly. So definitely look at our website. You can watch anything that you don't attend, and then every month you can come to something. And yeah.
Yeah, and if you're here, I have your email, I believe. If you didn't sign up and you just showed up, let me know, and I can add you to our email and make sure you get the next class. I try not to send too many emails, but I do want to make sure you guys know what we're doing.
So we've got the hour filled. What are you guys gonna do after this?
Set up Trello.
That's a
There
good
you
one.
go.
Set up Trello. How many relationships are you gonna form over the next couple of years? Meaningful ones.
300 to 500.
Yeah. Why? Because you're gonna provide for your family with all those people who know what you're the best at, right? So.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you guys.